Hi everyone, I'm Justina, the Associate Editor of the ActionParent.com. Today we will be talking about hobby training with Dana and Minoli from the Action Parent team. Dana and Minoli have both recently gone through the whole hobby training process with the youngest kids, so we are going to get them to share with us on how they cope with it all. So Dana, you recently went through potty training with your daughter. How old was she at that time? And please share with us how did you do it?
Hi, Justina. Hi, everyone. Yes, so with my daughter, she was nearly 2, just a few months before her second birthday. And so I just went along with her flow as she started to exhibit signs of readiness. She was annoyed with her nappy. She was coming to me complaining when she had a poo or a wee that she was uncomfortable. And she also started coming to say just before she was gonna do it. So not yet in control, but very much aware. So I started explaining to her about, her big brother and mom and dad, everybody using the toilet, and she's becoming a big girl, reading books about the topic. And so I dragged that on for a bit because I was waiting for summer. We were living in Australia, and I was waiting for the summer months where I can take the nappy off of her and let her run happily naked in the backyard and not worry so much about being wet and changing clothes and things like that. And so I believe that's my philosophy. Go with the kids. When they're ready, when they show you signs, go with them.
So it looks like the potty training experience with your daughter was quite easy. Were you surprised at how soon she got the hang of it?
Well, seeing as she's my second one, I wasn't as surprised as I was the first time. But yes, we found it quite easy, both her and I think. But I think because it came from her, she was ready physically, mentally, emotionally. And so I was happy with how quick it was. In both cases, with my son and my daughter, it only took us about a week or so, and we never had accidents. In both cases, I took the nappy off, and it was off for day and for night. And so there wasn't any confusion for them. And I also did it during holidays, so they were home with me 100% of the time. They weren't going to childcare. And I found number ones were quite easy, but with the number two, sometimes it was a bit more complicated. They were worried, both my kids, about doing a number two in the toilet. Somehow it was scarier. So that required a bit more sitting down next to them, reassuring them, reading funny books on that issue. And in my daughter's case, also some chocolate bribery. If she did a good job, she got chocolate coins. That took 2 or 3 times and all good.
Right, good idea there. And Minoli, what about you? Are you in the midst of potty training your son, and how old is he?
Hi everyone. My my son turned 2 last month, and I started potty training him around that time, around when he was after he just turned 2. He seemed ready, but the thing is, it was a bit easy for him when it came to number 2, because from the time he was around 6 months, he had a very regular bowel movement every day in the morning. So we used to just plunk him on the potty, and he used to go. So because of that, number 2 was easier in his case than number 1. And at 2 years old, we decided to start training him to go, like, to pee in the potty as well. So it's going okay. It's been a month now, and we're kind of puddle free. But I mean, there are the occasional accident, but he tells in his own way. He can't speak too well, but in his own way he tells that he wants to go. But it's going okay, yeah.
Okay, so you've got a set schedule for potty time?
Well, what we do is we just ask him every half an hour or so. We just ask him if he wants to go, and that's how I started. So he knows that he needs to communicate that he needs to pee. So we still go with the morning. We just put him, as soon as he wakes up, we just put him on the potty and he does his poo. And that's it for the day, unless he's having a tummy bug or something, then we put the diaper on. But otherwise, he goes in the morning and the poo is out of the way. But for pee, I just keep asking him every half an hour or so, and one of us would take him to the toilet.
Okay, and in terms of sitting down at the potty, do you have to do anything to distract him to encourage him to stay seated, or is he quite good in that area?
We started train like for the poo because he was just used to it from small days. He would sit, but one of us would keep a stool and sit in front of him. Like Dana said, we would read stories to him, sing songs with him, and he that keeps him occupied. And we would always someone would sit in front of him in case he decided to dive off the seat. But other than that, he's okay because we just started early with him. But as for P, it took a bit of convincing. It took a bit of time, like to get him to. First, he thought it was just too much of a process to go to the toilet and someone had to like hold him. But now he's kind of getting used to the concept of it, and it's going okay.
Okay, so I noticed that with the both of you, there are quite different ways of approaching potty training with your kids. So Dana, you mentioned that you use a toilet seat trainer instead of a potty. Maybe you like to tell us what made you want to go with this method and why is it better than using a potty?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's very personal, so it's a decision everybody's got to make for themselves. But in my case, both kids went straight to the toilet. I suppose on one hand, it was my decision for my benefit because really, who wants to wash pooey potties? And then I thought also for the children, the potty is a short-lived stage. It's another stage that they'll have to go before they reach the toilet. So I thought it would be confusing for them and won't be beneficial in the long run. So we just skipped that stage.
I think I agree with you on that one. It's easier to flush it down rather than with a potty. What about you, Minoli? Are you using a potty or toilet trainer?
At the moment, it's just a seat, but because he started when he was little, just we used to put him on the potty, and then he transitioned to the seat when he was around 1 year. And yeah, I agree with you all too. It is just too much of a hassle to flush the poo and everything after. But we quickly switched him as soon as he was big enough to sit on the seat. We switched him over to the seat.
Right. And does he keep to his potty training schedule when he's at playgroup?
He goes. His playgroup is just 1 hour, and I ask him to go to the toilet before at home before he leaves for his playgroup, and he usually can hold it for a. He usually has a dry diaper by the time he comes home, which is just an hour and a half later, so it's not bad. He sticks to it. And now when we go like to restaurants and stuff, he tells us when he wants to go, so we have to stop what we're doing and take him.
All right. And what about the rest of the kids in his playgroup? Are they potty trained as well?
I don't think so. I think they're probably because they're all around the same age. I think they're all in the same, they're all probably being potty trained at the moment. I see one or two, without diapers, and I think the girls seem to be, potty trained, but the boys seem to be still in diapers. I don't know if it's they seem to be faster than the boys, but they all seem to be in diapers. I don't know. There's some in diapers.
So it looks like your son is ahead of the class at the moment.
Yeah, but they probably all are in the process, I guess so, because I still send him with a diaper because I don't want accidents.
Hmm.
Yeah, so he's also because he's in the process, so I don't want accidents. When we go out, I just put a pull-up diaper,
Right.
and but it's still dry when we come home, so that means he's okay.
Okay. Dana, you mentioned that you have an older son. Is there any difference in the way you potty train your son compared to what you went through with your daughter?
Overall, no. I did exactly the same thing at about the same age and the same time season as in summer, and straight to the toilet, and followed their request or their prompts for readiness. But yeah, boys are different in the sense that they stand up to we. So Slight difference there, but generally the process is the same.
And there's this one thing that I've always wondered. How do you deal with this situation whereby your son needed to do a number two while he was halfway standing up peeing at the same time?
Well, that's the thing. You've got to teach them this control. So I think from what I understood from my friends who had older children and the recommendations I got from the child health nurse was to start with my son toilet training sitting down. So he would do number 1 and number 2 sitting down. And then as the time went by, weeks or months later, when you saw that he had more control, we would get a stool for him and tell him if it's only wee, then he can stand up and do wee just like daddy, just like all the other boys. But at the beginning it was sitting down altogether until he realized the difference and controlled it so that he asked to go just to wee or he asked to go just to poo.
Okay, that makes sense. So what about with regards to getting the right aim? How did you go through this with your son when he moved on to the big toilet? How do you get him to aim at the right place?
The ultimate boy question. Actually, another recommendation from a friend. I got this little target practice game. You put it into the toilet just like you put a toilet cleaning product in, and you ask the boys to try and hit it. And if they hit it, the wee, I'm not sure if it's the heat of it or the acidity of it, makes an image change, and a funny or a cute image like a car or a truck would appear. So they've got incentive to hit the target. So it became fun. It became like a game, and he did very well with that. Mind you, to this date, we don't have 100% accuracy, but we're happy.
Right, our job is like never done.
Exactly.
So, last question to you ladies. Dana, what advice would you give to other moms like me who are about to start potty training?
I think my advice is always go with your children, go with your gut. Every child is different, every situation is different. So do what you think is best for them and encourage them. Like I said, because we came from Melbourne, I found that we had to stick with the seasons, go with summers, so they're not cold and they're not anxious. And it's fun for them to run around naked. But the important thing is go with your gut and go with your child's, stages as he develops naturally.
Right. And what about you, Minoli? Any
Yeah,
advice to other moms?
Yeah, I agree with Dana as well. Once your child is ready to be potty trained and you decide to take that step, just be consistent. When they want to go to the potty, you need to leave what you're doing and take them, because when they're really small, they don't know how to control it. So you also need to show them that you can't wait. When you need to go, it's better for their health as well. You need to go. And when they start getting used to really holding it, it just comes to a point that it just goes. So you need to be also proactive, take the child, even if you're at a restaurant and he says, like what happened to us yesterday. We were at a restaurant, we just got our meal and he says he needs to pee. So stop everything and take the guy to the potty. That's what and also, if you have expensive carpets at home, it's best that you roll them up. Cleaning a floor is much easier than cleaning a carpet. Personal experience.
That makes sense. So the key you're saying here is to take cues from them for potty time?
Yes, take their cue on readiness. When they are ready, they will, show that. It just make it also exciting for them, interesting to go. Like Dana said, that little game, it just makes them interesting. It makes it interesting. So, yeah.
Okay. In regards to taking cues from them, there's a question from a viewer that just came in. It says, at what age would you suggest to start potty training?
Um,
Okay.
Okay, I started both around 2 years. I feel they can communicate. You know, they know how to sense that they want to pee, but it would take months, depending on the child. It would take months from that time. But if I were to say an age, both my kids started around 2. So just that's my personal experience.
I agree. I think around the age of 2, you have to suss out their readiness. From my experience, some kids did well at around the age of 2, and other who are completely not ready, leave it, go back to it again in 6 months, see how they are at 2.5. Not ready, see how they are at 3. It's natural, I think, anywhere between 2 and 3.
So should parents be worried if like by 2.5, 3 and their kids are not quite potty trained yet? What's your take on this?
My experience is, for example, in Melbourne, where we come from, the kids can't go up to nursery at 3 years old if they're not potty trained. They can't come up in nappies. So it really depends, I guess, what environment they're in. If they're home and you have more flexibility, good. If they're in an environment where there's a requirement for them to be ready, then perhaps there's a bit more of a need to push them in the holidays before the new year starts. But if they're in that sort of environment, I feel that they follow the lead of the other children. So they usually will do as the others do. I've seen other kids follow my daughter into the toilet to see what she's doing. It comes naturally to kids, even the slower ones. They'll follow the other kids and it'll come.
Okay. And Minoli, do you have any views on this?
I agree with Dana. I have like I know some kids just take longer. The thing is, some take longer to communicate as well. So when they need to tell that they need to pee or poo, they need to be able to communicate it to their parents. So it would really depend on each child. Some like would start communicating much faster than the others. So it's much easier when they tell you rather than the parents trying to figure out when they want to pee or poo. So yeah, between the ages of 2 and 3 is I think the usual.
The right age to start.
Yeah, yeah, the right age.
Okay. So thank you both so much for joining me here today at the AsianParent.com Hangout on potty training. And for those of you who have tuned in, we'd like to hear from you as well. So if you've got any questions, feel free to leave us a comment and follow the Asian Parent on Google Plus and Facebook to keep up with our updates. Bye everyone.
Bye.